When you wake up as a monster, repulsive and useless, would your family still care for you? Metamorphosis could be your story. Part 1. The Transformation. Gregor Samsa woke in his bedroom and felt at once that something was wrong. He lay on his back, unable to turn over. His many legs waved helplessly in the air. The ceiling above him looked familiar, but his body felt heavy and strange. He had turned into a big insect. He was shocked and frightened, yet his first thought was his work. He had missed the train, and his office manager would be angry. He was a traveling salesman, and his family depended on his income. Ever since his father's business had failed 5 years ago, Gregor had been the sole provider for the family. He had to get up, but as he tried to sit up, his body slipped and twisted on the bed. He could no longer control his body. His mother knocked on the door, worried that he was already late for work. His father spoke sharply, already blaming him for staying in bed. His sister Greta stood outside, her voice quiet and gentle with genuine concern. With much effort, Gregor moved himself near the door and tried to answer them. But his voice came out brittle and scratchy, not sounding like a human voice. The chief clerk from his work arrived at their house, only to tell Gregor that he had failed to fulfill his duties. Gregor argued through his closed door, declaring his years of loyalty and efforts. But his voice sounded so scratchy that they could not understand what he was saying. He had to open the door so he could explain. After so much struggle, he managed to push the door open with his body weight. The sight of him caused instant chaos. His mother collapsed into a chair. The chief clerk was terrified and scrambled out of the house. Gregor's father grabbed a walking stick and newspaper and began driving him back to his room. His eyes showed disgust and rage. He forced Gregor through the doorway. Gregor's body scraped against the doorframe and felt something tear. He stumbled back into his room, bleeding. The door slammed shut behind him, and silence fell over the house. Part 2. Adaptation and Rejection. When Gregor woke later that afternoon, he found a bowl of milk by the door. But his taste had changed. The fresh milk disgusted him. Over the following days, his sister Greta discovered that he would eat rotten vegetables and moldy cheese. Greta came most often. She brought food, cleaned the room, and worked quickly, keeping her eyes low. Gregor watched her with gratitude and guilt. He hid behind the sofa whenever she entered to spare her the sight of him. Gregor could no longer work. Without his income, the family struggled to make ends meet. Money became tight. His father, who had seemed weak and retired for years, found work as a bank messenger. Gregor spent his days alone, exploring his new abilities. He discovered he could crawl up the walls and across the ceiling. Hanging upside down made it easier to breathe. But these movements left dark stains everywhere. One day, Greta decided to remove the furniture from his room to give him more space to crawl. His mother did not like it at first, as she had hoped that Gregor would return back to his normal self. As they moved out his furniture, Gregor felt distressed. He felt as if his past were being carried away piece by piece. He wanted to keep some of his human possessions, especially a framed picture of a woman hanging on his wall. Gregor climbed up, clung to the wall, and covered it with his body. His mother saw him on the wall and fainted in shock. Greta ran for medicine, accidentally locking Gregor out of his room. In the confusion, he wandered into the living room. Bottles crashed to the floor. Glass cut into his body. Greta screamed when she saw him. When his father returned home and saw the chaos, he became furious. Gregor tried to explain, but it was useless. His father bombarded him with apples. An apple struck Gregor's back with force and lodged there. Gregor tried to crawl away, but his legs would not move. The pain at his back was so intense that he began to lose consciousness. The last thing he remembered was seeing his mother run forward and beg his father to spare his life. Part 3. Liberation. Over the following month, Gregor grew weaker. The apple in his back caused constant pain, but no one dared to remove it. To help the family finances, Greta began working as a sales clerk while their mother took in sewing jobs. The family had taken in 3 male boarders. The 3 demanded that the house and kitchen should be orderly and clean. So discarded furniture, equipment, and house clutter were piled up in Gregor's room. Greta stopped caring for Gregor properly. His room became filthy with dust and grime. An elderly cleaning woman who was not afraid of Gregor's appearance would often come to his room. She would look at him and tease him with her broomstick. For her, Gregor was just a big insect she did not care about at all. Gregor ate less and less. He spent most of his time lying still, staring at nothing. His body became covered in dust and debris. One evening, Greta played her violin for the 3 boarders in the living room. The beautiful music drew Gregor out of his room like a spell. He crept closer, lost in the sound. It awakened feelings he thought had died with his transformation. He imagined telling Greta how he had planned to send her to the music conservatory, how much he had loved her. The boarders noticed him. They pointed at the filthy creature on the floor. Greta stopped playing her violin immediately. The men were outraged. As they hurriedly walked to their rooms, they announced they would leave the next morning without paying any of the rent they owed. After they left, Greta spoke the words that Gregor had been dreading. She declared that the family could no longer live with the creature in that room. She insisted they must get rid of it. If it were truly Gregor, he would have left on his own to spare them this misery. Her father agreed. Her mother said nothing. Gregor's father and sister had made up their minds. It was useless to protest. They thought Gregor could not understand their words. But he did. He slowly dragged himself back to his room, each movement taking all his remaining strength. He thought about his family with deep love and tenderness. He understood what Greta meant to say. He had become a burden to his family, and they could no longer bear his burden. As the first light of dawn crept through his window, his head and body sank down. His last breath left his body. The cleaning woman found him in the morning. She poked his lifeless body with her broom to show the family he was truly dead. The father, mother, and sister Greta saw how thin Gregor's insect body had become. Its limp legs spread on the stained floor. Together, they huddled into their bedroom and cried a little. They did not want to know how the cleaning woman would dispose of the insect's body. The 3 boarders demanded breakfast as the cleaning woman showed them the lifeless insect body. The father shouted at them to pack their things and leave the house. When they were ready to go, the 3 men took their hats and canes, bowed their heads, and left without a word. The family then decided to take the day off. They wrote excuse letters to their employers and took a trolley into the countryside. As they rode through the sunny landscape, they discussed their future. They would move to a smaller house and keep their jobs. They believed their plans were good, and they felt better about themselves. The father and mother noticed that Greta, despite the difficult months, had blossomed into a beautiful young woman. They thought about finding her a good husband. When they reached their destination, Greta stood first and stretched her young body, full of new life and possibilities. The family stepped off the trolley and walked into their future, leaving the memory of Gregor Samsa behind them forever. The end.